Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Belfast Film Festival 2017 and this very, very special event. So we really need you to raise the roof for our special guest when he comes, just in a few minutes' time. Tonight we honor an actor, a producer, a screenwriter who has forged a remarkable career, which is why we are delighted that John Cusack is our special guest and recipient of the Belfast Film Festival Rialta Award for Outstanding Contribution to Cinema. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for our very special guest, Mr. John Cusack. Yes, John, what would you like? We have beer, we have Coke, we have water.
I'm going to probably go with the e-cigarette. Is that?
Oh, fine, that's fine. Absolutely fine. John, welcome to Belfast Film Festival.
Thank you.
We are so delighted to have you here. People love you here. Do you know this is the hottest ticket in town? We could have sold this over 10 times over just to see you. Now, tell us, have you been to Belfast before? I know you've been to Ireland before, but kind of tell us what part Ireland has played in your life and kind of tell us about what you think of Belfast.
Well, the Cusacks are from Meath, and my mom's family, the Carolins, are from right under the Ring of Kerry, so we're both third generation in America, Irish. And for my mom's 80th birthday, I came here, came to Belfast, and then we took a motorcycle around Ireland.
Wow.
She was in a van. we had motorcycles in a van, so we went to see like the ancestral homelands.
Wow, that must have been really kind of...
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty beautiful trip. So I've always had a great time in Ireland. In Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, Eastern Ireland, Western Ireland, all of them.
Any Ireland at all.
All of them.
And what's your impressions of Belfast as a city so far?
It seems like it's changing a lot since I was here 7 years ago, but you know, a lot of construction, but I have to get around. I just got here this morning, so.
Yeah, you're here for the weekend.
Next couple of days.
He's here for the weekend. Any recommendations, please let us know.
I did the Crown, but I'm here. I hear that's quite a tourist place, but
Yeah.
a good tourist
It was
place.
good. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Now, John, you have been described, rightly or wrongly, you can tell me.
Wrongly.
All right, okay. You have been described as a little bit edgy,
Wrong.
as an unconventional hero.
I don't know what a hero is. Do you?
Well, you're kind of like a hero to me.
Oh.
But anyway, as an actor who likes to play underdogs and odd men out, is that how you would describe yourself?
Yeah, that's probably the Irish part, right? The
Right,
underdog.
yeah, because the thing I was going to say is this festival is edgy, it's unconventional, and it's, you know, it's an underdog kind of festival. So you're in the right place. John, you've starred in an incredible 80+ films. You're more productive than ever. In the last 3 years, you've made 12 movies.
Have I?
What drives you on?
I don't know. I sort of, I just like to tell stories, and I can't get a real job, I don't think. I don't think anybody would hire me in any position of responsibility. So I continue to sort of wander around.
And what do you look for in a new project? What kind of excites you about something?
Well, to be honest, you do projects to sort of stay alive, and then you sort of do your art projects, although everybody who's probably in this film festival had to do it as a labor of love. So the way we sort of work it, the States is, the movies business has changed a lot. Financing movies has changed a lot, and a lot of the space we used to make in independent films has sort of gone to television. And then if you want to make the studio movies, you got to put on the tights and have superhero powers. And again, I just don't relate to the heroes quite so much.
Okay. You could play the villain though. You'd be a
I
great
could
villain.
play the villain.
Wouldn't he? Be a great villain.
Or whatever, open for business.
But here's the thing: is I've had a great few weeks because I've been rewatching all your films.
I think I might owe you some money.
It's been great. No, listen, it's been really great. I mean, films that I knew, films that I didn't know. 2015, you starred in Dragon Blade.
That was fun.
Okay, you played a Roman centurion.
Yes.
Who has a sword fight with Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Now, what's not to love about that?
That's what it's hard to explain. So there's art movies, and then there's commercial movies, and there's political movies, and even all those three things can sort of blend together and feed off of each other. But then there's the call saying, we want you to come do a Jackie Chan movie where you fight Jackie Chan in the Gobi Desert. And then you just the sheer hell-raising adventurism of it, you just have to do it.
You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to.
So I really was a huge fan of Jackie's and his influence on martial arts and fighting. And actually, one of the films I made, Grosse Point Blank, we modeled the fight after a fight that the guy I fought with did with Jackie Chan in the 70s that sort of changed fighting styles in movies. Film called, if you ever look it up, called Meals on Wheels. The strangest title for a kung fu film. I have no idea what it has to do with the plot. There's a bad guy and a good guy, but there's a great fight between Jackie Chan and Benny the Jet, who I fought in Grosse Point Blank. So.
Now, I should say at this point that John is a black belt in kickboxing.
I don't. I
Is that
guess,
right?
I think.
Is that right?
But I think it expires after you get old.
Oh no. that part never goes.
You got to stretch. It's not. You don't hold on to those things.
But physically, you like to do those kind of sequences. You know,
Yeah.
you like to do those kind of action sequences.
Well, usually you can't really do good action sequences unless it's hard to get a good, real smart action film. But this is Jackie Chan. He was going to do a huge sequence in China, speaking Chinese. I was going to be out in the Gobi Desert by myself. Just seemed like too weird to pass up.
It is an epic film, and Jackie Chan becomes a Roman centurion. I mean, come on. I mean, it's brilliant. But let's go back, because the country you come from is called
United States of America.
I was going to say the Midwest.
Yes, that's true.
But you're from Evanston, Illinois.
Yes.
Okay. Now, lots of us have been to Chicago. Who's been to Chicago? Okay, hands up, Chicago. All right. Anybody here been to Evanston, Illinois? Wow, we got some Evanston, Illinois. Okay, cool.
You went to Northwestern? Or just passing through?
Passing through. Okay, now, it's only 12 miles from downtown Chicago, but not a lot of people go there. But tell us,
A lot of people go to Evanston.
More
It's
people
the
are going
first
to go.
suburb north of Chicago. You take the train, right?
Okay.
Get off at Evanston.
Tell us what it's like. Evanston, Illinois. What was it like to grow up there? What kind of a place is Evanston, Illinois?
Well, it's changed like the way that a lot of the world's changed now. But when I was growing up, there was you still remember that kind of period in America where, at least if you were a white person in the suburbs, you didn't have to lock your door at night and go out and play. And there were no computers, there were no cell phones. I remember the first time a computer came, there was a store that opened up in Evanston, and someone said, they got a computer in there. And we said, wow. And there was guys playing Star Trek, and they had a huge IBM thing that looked like HAL, and they had this screen, and they were typing things in. And we were like, wow, that's a computer. So it's amazing how fast the world can change, because it was quite bucolic back then.
But you still live in Chicago.
Was that a good answer?
That was a great answer. That was brilliant.
I don't know.
You liked it. Come on. But you still live in Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah. So you haven't moved far from there. Why is that? Why do you want to stay in that place?
I think in the States, I think Chicago, the Midwest, that vibe is particularly kind of it's a serious but a low-key vibe. People like look you in the eye and talk to you, and it's not quite as much about status as the other power centers like New York and Washington and Silicon Valley and LA. They're more like big moats that people are trying to get in and curry favor everywhere. And the Midwest is just kind of a cooler vibe.
Cooler vibe. Very like
For me.
Belfast. Very like Belfast. Yeah. We just look you in the eye.
The Irish, a lot of Irish in Chicago, and it seems like home.
Now, tell us about your parents, because I mean, they were kind of politically active, they were kind of creative. I mean, give us a sense of their influence on you when you were growing up.
Let's see. My mother's, politically, the influence would probably be from Dorothy Day, the Catholic worker, Vatican II, that kind of version of the left, right? Not the super arch conservative version of it, of the Catholic Church. And so they felt like they had to have a sense of duty and activism to her thing. And my father came back from World War II, and he roomed with the Berrigan brothers, Daniel and Phil Berrigan, so at Holy Cross. And so they had I was very lucky. They had a literate kind of historical and political sense of the world and tried to share it with their kids. So, real lucky.
Now, if we don't know who the Berrigan brothers are, I mean, give
You
us,
asked the question.
I know, but of course, but
like, what did I wear?
No, absolutely not. But kind of educate us about those guys. I mean, who were they back in the '60s, back in the day?
Do you remember the pictures of the two priests who had handcuffs on?
Yeah.
With peace signs. So it was a kind of time when the civil rights movement and the secular left, the intellectuals and the students, and then kind of the faith community all came together in the civil rights movement. So it was that sort of great period in American history where people were getting things done.
Now, tell me this, when was the moment then that you decided that you were going to be an actor? You know, how did that kind of come about that you started to do acting? Well,
if I could have hit a curveball, I like baseball a lot, but I was better at acting. So I think if I would have been better at something else, I probably would have done it.
Now, the Piven Theatre Workshop. Tell us about that, because Jeremy Piven, we know Jeremy Piven here, of course. He's Mr. Selfridge. Yeah, on TV we know him. And you kind of grew up with him, and his parents were quite influential. I mean, tell us about their theatre workshop that they ran.
Yeah, they ran a thing that was based on like story theater, which is Viola Spolin and Paul Sills and a lot of acting stuff. That I don't know if it's super interesting, but maybe it is. Yeah, is it?
It is.
Is it?
It is. Yeah.
All right.
It is. It's great.
So, and they would sort of do a style where you would be, you'd be doing a scene, but then you could actually stop and you'd become the narrator of the scene as well. And it had different sorts of mime work, and you had to sort of create the universe out of nothing. So it was. Had that in common with the Commedia dell'arte theatrical style, with the archetypes and all that.
Sure.
So it's sort of an anti-realism sort of training that's more imaginative in a sense, because you're not trying to pretend that we're not on a stage here, or that we really are in a farm in Kansas. You create it imaginatively, and you can break the fourth wall, as it were. So I could use some of that stuff in a movie like High Fidelity when I talk to the camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your pal Seamus McGarvey.
Yeah, of course. But tell me this: when you were doing that, when you were in that theatre kind of group, did you think at that point, actually, this could be my life? I could be doing this for the next 30 years, or what was your kind of thought then?
Well, at that time, I was already making films because I had such a strange life because I happened to be a teenager in Chicago when they were making films about teenagers. And then the studios were there and like, well, we got to hire some Chicago kids, right? Because we don't want to fly all the ones in from LA. So I happened to be at the right place at the right time and went to an audition and got one. And then so I was working when I was 15 years old, 14 years old.
Amazing. And of course, John Hughes, 16 Candles, that was
the first movie.
That was the first movie. I mean, can you imagine John Hughes? I mean,
we didn't know who he was at the time. I was just like, it's a movie.
Now, tell us, we're in a cinema here, we're in the movie house here, and this cinema has been here since, a long time. A lot of people have kind of found their dreams in this theatre. But tell us about the Varsity Theatre in Evanston,
Nice pull.
Tell us what that is.
Nice pull.
And tell us, what did you see there?
Let's see. Well, the Varsity was my experience in movies. I don't know if it's what it's like in Belfast, but before the multiplexes, they just have these big old theaters, and there was the balconies and the stars up there. I don't. Do you have any of those here?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have the Strand Arts Centre, and you will be there tomorrow.
Good. So, in the summer nights, we'd go to Wrigley Field, or you have to go do your lawn work, mow the lawn or do your chores, and then you get to play some baseball. And at night there'd be this revival house, and it would show like a week of Stanley Kubrick movies, or a week of French movies, or anything that was anything in American history or European history that was in the cinema. We'd go see it, and it was just sort of a magical time. You could go there and watch a Fellini double bill, and you thought, wow, this is an important film. I have no idea what it means, but I know it's important. And you could just enjoy, really relax and go with your friends. So that was how I remembered, the theater and the cinema.
And it's no longer there, unfortunately, is it? The Varsity Theatre?
I think there are some more, there's a great one called the Music Box in Chicago, and there's some great old theaters, but the Varsity there's one called the Valencia too.
Wow.
I don't know what's with the V's, but.
The V's. And was there any particular actors who kind of stood out for you, maybe in the Varsity? Someone you watched and you actually thought, wow, that's screen acting. I've been doing theatre, but that's real screen acting. Yeah,
I mean, all the greats that, that would go even the 30s and 40s and 50s. You'd see Cagney, and you'd see Bogart, and you'd see all these great films. And you see Paul Newman and Dustin Hoffman and Al Pacino and Robert Duvall. And, it goes on, and all the great actresses and European actors. And then when I remembered seeing, I don't know if I saw it at the Varsity, but you remember the movie The Verdict?
Yes.
Paul Newman?
Yep.
And I remember seeing that, I think it was at the Varsity, or one of those theaters, and it struck me that that's the best use of a close-up in the history of film.
Wow.
Yes, because there's a great scene in this thing where this guy, Frank Galvin, in Boston, he's hitting the booze, and he's sort of drunk, and he's down and out, and he has to go and do this case, and he has to get the church to pay up for a case where a hospital gave someone the wrong anesthetic, and he sees this young girl, and the nurse says to him, "You can't be in here, you can't be in here." And it's the only close-up in the whole film. They cut to Newman, and all he says is, "I'm her attorney." And you see the entire weight of the world pass over his face, and then you're like, wow, that's filmmaking, that's film acting.
Paul Newman.
It's a great film.
That's a great film, yeah. Now, your dad, of course, was a playwright, a filmmaker, and an actor.
He dabbled around a lot.
He dabbled around a lot. I mean, one of my guilty pleasures is The Fugitive.
There you go.
Yeah. Every time it's on ITV4, I'm watching it, right? Okay. Now, when Richard Kimball gets to Chicago and he rings his attorney, and he goes, "What should I do?" and blah, blah, blah. But they're bugging the call, and he says, "I'm in Kansas City," or whatever. That is John's dad, Ben Kingsley. Now, what advice did he give you about this career you were going to forge in the film industry?
He was really big on, like, if you're going to do it, be professional, and, like, be prepared, and like he was just like, you can do it if you want, but you better do it right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was good, because it's good for young guys to get scared of their fathers.
Yeah. Classic dad stuff.
Yeah, just like you didn't want to disappoint him. It was sort of a threat. It was a promise. You didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But it was nice.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good.
Did your dad, kind of say, "You've done good, son"? Was there that kind of moment where he?
Yeah, they were always very supportive.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Sure, that's good.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you began your career with John Hughes, that we've talked about, 16 Candles, but you then starred with Rob Reiner in The Sure Thing.
True story.
And Now, Rob Reiner had just made
It's strange, 'cause
Spinal.
it's like your yearbook photos come to life on, on cable television.
But Rob Reiner had just done Spinal Tap,
That was
Wow, that was it. So, what impact did Rob Reiner have upon you? Because I think it was more than just kind of directing you in a film, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was. Any success that you have is because you have support around you, and you have good people around you, and then of course any failures are just all on you. Wait, or is it reversed? I'm not sure. But anyway, so when you have a guy like that, he was an actor, and he really looked after actors, and took care of you and helped you navigate around there. So there are a lot of really terrific people. As much as LA gets a bad rap, and it should, there's also some good artists and good human beings out there. Or at least there were.
And what was your impression of Hollywood? Because you turn up there and
Just a freak show. It just seemed like unbelievable. I was just a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Showing up in LA.
Wow, pretty amazing. You're a big baseball fan. You're a big ball game fan.
Yes.
Now, we don't really have that here. Okay. We have the bats, but we don't have the game. So, sell it
You
to
have
us.
the bats with the hurling.
Yeah, but sell it to us. What is it about baseball that makes it a great sport?
All right, number one, there's no clock, right? How can you not like a sport with no clock?
Okay.
You can literally go on forever.
Okay.
Until someone wins.
That's good.
Isn't that enough?
Yeah. Is that enough?
You want more?
We want more.
On baseball?
Yeah.
It goes through 3 seasons, right? So you get sort of the whole rhythm of time, the rhythm of seasons, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's
good.
You buying that one?
I like that.
You guys?
I like that. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No winter.
No winter.
Just spring, summer, and fall.
Spring, summer, fall. We like it. Okay.
And it's outside, grass.
Yeah. That's good too.
It takes power, precision, skill,
Okay.
finesse.
We like it.
And I would say the other thing that's really good about that sport is you can go with your friends and you can sit back and you can watch it and you can be like, oh, and just hang out and talk. And you can see them running around and they hit a ball. Or then you can just zero in and get deeper and deeper and deeper into the meta of the game.
Okay, cool.
So you can sort of enjoy it in multiple ways. It has quantum enjoyment.
Okay. Are we sold? Are we sold on baseball?
Oh my God.
Now
This is like, I may fold under question here.
no, but there was a time when baseball was big in this city. Okay.
When?
1942.
Is that a true story?
That's a true story. Let me tell you. After Pearl Harbor, the
wow.
American troops arrived. The first place they arrived in Europe was Belfast. Okay, 300,000 American troops came through Northern Ireland.
And they played baseball.
They played baseball at Ravenhill. To big crowds of American troops. There was a 3-year window where baseball was big. But maybe we can bring it back. But now, you're wearing is that a baseball hat? You're wearing Cubs hat.
Yes.
Now, there are Cubs and there are White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
You support Cubs?
I do.
And White Sox?
I do.
Okay, now so there's Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. How does that work? Did you support both?
It's the worst press I get in the States. In Chicago is from White Sox fans. But when I grew up, I used to I just loved the game, and they had 2 great old parks. And I was more of a Cubs fan, but then I became a Sox fan too. But anytime Chicago baseball was on, I wanted both teams to win.
Okay.
And they also had a great announcer named Harry Carey, who was, he in himself was a game within the game, because he was overserved, as my father used to say, and he would basically say almost anything on television at any given time.
Wow.
And no one was really watching, because it was on like this very, public access channel. So it was a pretty good show, the White Sox. And then I did the movie, and then I wore the colors, and I got into the history of it, and so then I had a special place in my heart for the White Sox too.
So, who should we support? You have our audience, you have our attention. Should we support Cubs or should we support White Sox? Who should we go with?
Red Sox.
Red Sox.
Red Sox?
Boston.
Indians?
Yeah, I would say the Indians right now. The Indians are very cool because when I was at the World Series and I went there, they were absolute class.
Okay,
and they haven't won for a long time.
Where are they from, the Indians?
Cleveland.
Cleveland,
Ohio.
Okay.
But the White Sox won in 2005, and the Cubs broke a 108-year curse last year, which was really surreal because then 5 days later Trump was elected president, and I was pretty much sure it didn't happen, and I wasn't sure what was happening or if anything would ever happen again. So I've still been a little bit off kilter since that
They
time.
give with one hand and take with the other.
Yeah, and I should have seen that coming.
But you like sports, you like adventure sports. Is this true? Do you like helicopter snowboarding?
I do.
Is that true? What is helicopter snowboarding? Talk us through that.
Well, I went with a couple of my friends are crazier than me, and I like to hang out with them sometimes, and they do things like that, so I've gone with them a couple times.
Okay, so you go in a helicopter.
It goes up into a mountain, and then you get off the helicopter, and it goes away, and then you just gotta get down the hill, or, you know.
Wow, sounds like fun.
It is to me.
Yeah. What does your agent think of this?
I don't really ask me about this.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm glad. Okay, now listen. One of the great clips that we saw there was "Say Anything," and it was great to see your sister Joan.
Yes, it was.
We love your sister Joan. You've starred in 10 films with Joan.
Wow.
So tell us what it is about working with her. I mean, you've worked with all your siblings, but what is it about working with Joan that you like so much?
Well, usually if I, like some of the movies that I was produced or I was in or was for, it's pretty easy. If you have like a ringer in there, you just know that you don't have to do anything. She's going to run you over anyway. So everybody's going to get run over by her. And if you want to get run over because that means the movie's working because she's just going to do something great. So it's just, everything is, like if we did this interview 6 times in a row, or the 7th time we'd be like, we'd know each other's body language so much, we'd anticipate what the other guy's going to say. And so it's just familiarity, you know, is good. You get a shorthand with people. And with your sister, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I know what she's going to do before she does it.
Yeah, of course. And Lloyd Dobler. I mean, obviously, he's one of those characters who's stuck with people over the years. What is it about that character, do you think, has endured so much?
I think the conceit that Cameron co-wrote was it was a young guy who was not sort of optimistic or romantic because of the lack of any darkness or any sort of sense of the world. It was more of a choice that I want to be as awake as I can and be optimistic despite that stuff. So it was a little different than maybe it was originally. The seeds of it were in the script, and we worked to bring that out a little bit more. And I think people can relate to that because I think a lot of times film studios and things, they sort of think they're smarter than the audience, but I think the audience is pretty smart. So,
of course they are.
And if you sort of play to their intelligence, you can get rewarded. You're going to get smashed while you try to do it because everybody's so afraid with the movies to do something. But if you take risks and play to people's intelligence, they usually like it.
Yeah, well, they certainly like Say Anything, that's for sure. And you know, when we knew that you were going to come to the festival, we were really excited about it. It was a huge moment for us. And of course, the irony of it is, I couldn't say anything. You know, and people would say, who's coming? Who's going to receive the Rialto Award this year? I couldn't say anything. And people would say, oh, but who is it? Who is it? And all I had to do was that. And I went, oh, no way! John Cusack! You know, like, that's going to go down in cinema history. There's no question about it.
That's a high-class problem.
Now listen, you've worked with some great film directors over the years. Spike Lee, Terrence Malick, Robert Altman, Stephen Frears, who we saw there with The Grifters.
Yeah.
What do you look for when you come to work with a film director?
I think when somebody that you can really sort of absorb and learn from a lot, and usually it's that's what I like about somebody that the Irish that I meet. You know, it's nice when people do something and they don't just talk about it, and so when you can sort of absorb that sense from somebody where they're just doing something and you have to get on board with them and go with it, it's very exciting. So when you can sort of learn and absorb from them, like Woody Allen will direct, and he doesn't really look at you, so he's just sort of directing. He sort of looks at you and he just looks away, but he's just listening to the rhythm of it, and so he wants you to sound like if you're talking to me right now, just say something to me.
Hey, John.
Yeah, but I might talk over you, right?
Yeah.
So, and because he doesn't want to hear your line and then pause my line. So he's a musician, so he's very musical. So
That's the jazz.
That's the jazz. So he wants tempo, and he wants it. You know, he says things like, "It's very good what you're doing, but there's a Knicks game, so speed it up." And it's like you're like, "Oh wow, yeah." And he's pretty great at his craft. So I think each director, each person you're working with that has some talent or gifts, you know, they have some quality that you're like, wow, it sort of blows your mind.
And did that surprise you that someone like Woody Allen, who, you know, writes these perfect scripts, would then say to you, look, you can change it,
It's even more than that, which is he would say, like, you'd have some great scene and he would say, you know, it's good what you're doing, but just sort of step on it and make it your own. If you don't like these lines, say some other lines, but you know, and then go over by the coat thing and then leave. And at some point I said, but the scene's really good. And he said, trust me, it's not that good. But he meant it two ways, because he didn't want it to be the scripted, written word. He wanted it to be something that was experienced with the actors. So he's got a great mix of, you know, because some people can be so precious with the words that, you know, you can hear the writing. And some people can be so improvisational that they don't respect the writers.
Yeah.
And that's an art. It's not a dogma. He's probably as good as anybody at that.
Now, it was around this time that you kind of decided to work behind the camera as well as in front of the camera, kind of.
What is that?
So, you know, so we're going to talk about Grosse Point Blank. So you decided that you would write this screenplay, co-write it, and you would produce it and everything. Why did you decide to kind of make that move then, kind of to behind the camera as well as in front of?
Well, I've been doing stuff before. I did a bunch of plays in Chicago, and with a bunch of actors that ended up being in some of the movies and stuff. And so I would take money from the movies and then just go put on a play and then be a kid. And I was doing that for a while, and then I started to have, you don't really always get the best scripts in the world. Sometimes, you know, you never want to see what it's like when you look at a sausage, how a sausage is made. That's Hollywood too, so there's all these reasons why scripts are somewhere. So then I'd come in, I'd start sort of fixing the scripts, because at the end of the day, you know, if it's not good, you can't make the scene work. And so I wrote on Say Anything, and I wrote on some of the films that I did with the writers and directors. And so I thought, well, I'll just write my own script and then fix that.
Yeah. And you wrote Grosse Point Blank.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. I love that. And that was very much a family affair. I mean, all the siblings are in Grosse Point Blank. I mean, it was a bit of a homecoming, wasn't it?
Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of
my sister
them.
Ann, Joan. I don't think my brother Bill made it.
But
we did do. He was in
brought
another
him
one called War Inc. It was a kind of a
Yeah.
sequel to that. And then I think he was in the Jack Bull, which my father made, which is a western he made for HBO, which is another cool little movie.
Tell us about Dan, because he's a really good friend of yours. And when you have someone like him in a scene, I mean, this is the scene from the diner. When you have someone like him in a scene, do you do the Woody Allen thing? Do you say, look, Dan, you just do it your own way? Or, Dan, that's my lines, you say it like this. How does that work?
Take a guess. Well, when you have you got Alan Arkin, you got Dan Aykroyd, if you have my sister Joan, if you have these people,
sure.
All you do is just say, just go do whatever the fuck you want. Like, we'll hold on So, and it's not like you can't do the script. It's like you can do the script, but then you can play around with it. And the actors always come back to the script because it's musical and they want to come on time. But then, you know, the reason I started writing was so I wouldn't have to worry about offending the writers or the directors when actors wanted to try things.
Yeah, sure.
So Dan Aykroyd rewrote his part, and Alan Arkin did. And I never know what the hell my sister's going to say. I don't really want to know.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so you just sort of play around with things.
Now, talk to us about one of your bosses, Joe Roth. Tell us what part he played in these films that we've seen.
Well, that was again, like what we were saying before. Anytime you have a success, there's usually other people around who are supporting you, and that was a time when the business was more. It was less corporate. It was the people who ran the studios. A guy like Joe, he would make these big movies to make money, like, you know, Armageddon or Con Air, you know, that were fun, but, you know, super mega blockbustery type things. But then he would just give 6 or 7 slots in his portfolio of films. If he was going to make 25 or 30 films or 20 films a year, and he just gave it to people that he liked, and he gave them enough money to make the movies and didn't fuck with you. It was awesome. And so I'm always, I mean, there's no way that movie could get made now with that kind of integrity, unfortunately, with that kind of budget, I think. But he was he's a great guy. So he gave me the money to make Grosse Point Blank and High Fidelity. He gave Wes Anderson the money to make Rushmore. Spike Lee got to make Summer of Sam. So there was a time when it didn't matter, you know, who was in the leadership position in certain places, and he was a great friend to filmmakers.
Well, that's Joe Roth, who ran Disney at the time. Thank you for that. And, you know, what has happened to those kind of films, those kind of middle-range films?
Seems TV.
I mean,
it
where
seems
have
like
they
the
gone?
spaces it's gone to TV, you know, seems to be.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a real shame, isn't it, that we don't have those kind of films anymore, you know, like that. Now, that experience on Grosse Point Blank and High Fidelity, where you had more kind of creative control, what was that like? What's the difference?
You wouldn't have to, like, when Aykroyd would come in, he'd improvise this stuff. I don't know, he said poodle puncher, pound, like that was all his stuff, and he would come in and, you know, and then each project is a little different. You know, when you're doing something like Being John Malkovich, the script was so tight, and I said, well, I got to make this guy explain why he's a failure as a puppeteer, Charlie. And so I said, I wanted him to say, well, the reason that his puppeteering is not commercially viable is because he raises issues, and his puppeteering scares the public. So, and then Charlie laughed as we put that in. But, you know, so some movies you don't really want to work that way, but then some movies, actors are really great when they're improvisational and they can come back to the text. So, when they're my movies, I sort of know how to take care of the actors so that they can have fun. And if they have fun on screen, usually people have fun watching it.
Well, High Fidelity, of course, is screening at the QFT tomorrow, and you will be there at that screening. And Mr. Joe Lindsay is going to do a Q&A after. Joe's here tonight. Hi, Joe. How are you? And of course, the cinematography was by Seamus McGarvey from Armagh, one of our favourite cinematographers. Big love for Seamus. Tell us about Seamus McGarvey. What is it about this guy?
Oh man, he's got such an eye, and he also understands the scenes. You know, because sometimes some DPs will walk around and it's just a light show, but he's, you know, very in tune with the actors, so he can do it all. I mean, there's nothing he can't do as a cinematographer.
We're very proud of him here, and he's a big supporter of the Belfast Film Festival. He's world class. He absolutely is. Now, you did something in High Fidelity that Groucho Marx did, that Michael Caine did in Alfie. You broke the fourth wall. Tell us what that's like.
I'm planning on doing that tonight.
Tell us what's that like. Talking directly to the camera, directly to the audience. What is the challenge of that for an actor?
Well, again, we're talking about the story theater thing, when I was doing that, you would break the scene and start talking to the audience. So there are theatrical traditions where you can do it, and it's been done in films too. So it just seemed like the right thing to do after a while.
And
Just to get more of the book out there and to become more self-absorbed
Yeah.
and narcissistic and stunted.
Yeah.
Just so you just keep talking about your problems to the kid.
We loved it. We loved every minute of it.
It was fun to do.
It was fun. Now, obviously, you're a huge music fan, and we love the soundtracks on those films, especially the films that you did.
That was Kathy Nelson was the wizard behind Joe Roth's. She was the music supervisor, and I have no clue to this day how we made all the deals to get all those songs in the movies. But
brilliant
again,
soundtracks.
we had a lot of help.
Now, when you were growing up back in Evanston, Illinois, what was the UK? What was the Irish music that you would have been listening to? What were the bands that influenced you back then?
Well, when I read the High Fidelity book, to me, the thing that struck me was I knew the same guys, I knew the record shop, we were the same assholes, we were the same snobs, we were the same, idiots. But the UK was obsessed with R&B and soul, American, and we were obsessed with the punk stuff. The stuff coming out here, and then the Pogues was a huge band.
Pogues, come on. We love the Pogues.
I don't know. You guys don't like the Pogues?
We love the Pogues.
Rum Sodomy and the Lash?
Yeah, come on.
Pretty great. So I think that was the difference for us.
Yeah.
Is that we were in the record stores. We wanted to know what was going on in Ireland, UK, and all that.
And the Clash. Talk to us about the Clash, because they were a band that you liked, and then you ended up working with Joe Strummer.
Yeah, Joe did the music for Grosse Point Blank.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. I mean, what was that like for you then, to be listening to these records and then working with these guys?
I've had such a fortunate life where I've got to meet so many of my heroes. So I guess I do know what a hero is. Artistically. So I was been very fortunate. So, but it was sort of surreal, but fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of like talking to you now.
Nah.
But you also worked with some of the acting greats at this time. People probably that you watched in the Varsity Theatre.
True.
I mean, City Hall, you're acting opposite Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Al Pacino. I mean, talk to us about Al Pacino, because he was a little bit of a mentor to you. I mean, what is Al like? What was it like to work with him?
He's just a complete, the Yiddish term is mensch, like a human, like a complete, man, human being. Looks after you, kind, generous, do anything for you, and a real friend to an actor. Beautiful guy.
Can you call him Godfather? Is that?
You can. I haven't. But I guess I might. Maybe that might. But.
Yeah. Now you also worked Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil with Clint Eastwood. I mean, talk to us about Clint Eastwood, because then he went on to score something else for you.
Yeah, he went on to score a little film I did called Grace Is Gone that got swallowed up in the award season luge problem of independent films now that happens, where everybody's sort of vying for this little space for award season, and then movies get on. But he did the music for it.
But what's he like, Clint? Because we obviously have an idea of Clint from the films he's in. But what is he like to work with?
Of the directors that I work with, he would be the most like Woody Allen.
Okay.
You wouldn't think it, right? But
right? No, Clint, Woody. No. What does he say to you?
He's just very musical, and he likes to direct the same way. They both just do very few amounts of takes. They have it all sort of set up. They have control of the set, but they're very free and open with the actors. Like, try whatever you want. You want to do another one, and then they say, okay, that's enough. Moving on. But he's very musical and listens to the rhythm of it, and it's more of a first impression theater with Clint and Woody.
But that's a jazz thing again,
yeah,
really, isn't it?
They're very similar in that way. And both gentlemen.
Yeah. Now, Runaway Jury okay, you get to work with who I think are the two greatest American actors of the 20th century, Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman. Okay, now, tell us about them. What was it like to work with them?
Well, again, it was like those are the guys that I grew up watching at the Varsity, right?
Yeah.
You know, you'd watch Lenny or The Graduate or Kramer versus Kramer, any, you know, you can go down the list, or French Connection with Hackman, and these are just the greats. So, down to New Orleans with those guys.
New Orleans with Dustin and Gene. Hey, come on. That's pretty good. Now, we're going to look at our last set of clips, you'll be glad to hear. But this is you with another great actor. This is Sir Ben Kingsley in War Inc., okay?
Okay.
Okay, now, Sir Ben Kingsley we think of as, you know, a great actor, Oscar winner for Gandhi. How did you persuade him then to be in War Inc. with you and to do the kind of accent that he's doing? He's having a lot of fun in this film.
He did, yeah. It was, I think, probably because when we made that movie, it was right at the height of the Bush administration, and when they started to try to blow up the world again, the way we seem to like to do quite often. But that was a real nice effort, and they privatized the whole thing, and you know, it's just a terrible, terrible thing that keeps going on in a lot of ways. But so I think people understood we wanted to do something at the height of the patriotic fervor and bloodlust. We just wanted to do something. So I think people got on board for those reasons.
Well,
And he was a terrific guy.
yeah.
Yeah, Ben, Sir Ben. Yeah.
So Ben,
He wants to be called Sir Ben.
Does he?
He likes to be called Sir Ben.
Sir Ben?
I said, look, if this guy's going to come to Bulgaria and get into a trash machine with me, I'll call him anything he fucking wants. Okay? He's coming to do like a crazy little movie.
Yeah.
Goddamn right we'll call him Sir Ben. And he came in, knows all, he's a guy who doesn't want to improvise at all. He wants to know what the lines are.
Okay.
So you just have to like adjust to different people, the way they like to work.
And his
he
accent.
came in and just would nail it, the whole scenes.
Yeah.
And
And did you tell him to do the kind of southern
I
thing?
didn't tell him to do anything. I'm like, thank you for coming. Let's go. Whatever you want to do.
What is the challenge of playing a real life character? Like you've done it with Edgar Allan Poe, you did it with Nixon in The Butler, and with Brian Wilson, of course. So what is the difference of playing a real life character?
Well, Nixon and Poe were not around to tell me if it sucked. And I don't think if Nixon said it sucked, I would have cared. But Poe, I would have cared. But I think Brian was, he's still around, like Bob Dylan. He's in his 70s and doing really well. So I really wanted him and his wife to be happy with the film. So, but it was also great because I got to go hang out with them and hang around with them, and
Yeah, Love and Mercy, what a great film. I mean, a brilliant film. Now, Map to the Stars, we saw a clip of that, David Cronenberg's.
It's a nasty little film.
Is that the real La La Land?
That is, they say absurdism is just the truth just followed one step into the future, or a couple. And I don't know what the tone is that Wagner wrote, but I don't know if it can't be that cruel, but somehow it is.
I mean, it's a savage take on modern Hollywood. Have you seen Map to the Stars?
It's a nasty movie.
You play this life coach masseur.
I think you wouldn't call it a masseur. You would say it's a healer.
A healer, yeah.
Or some psychological.
I mean, what's your sense of modern Hollywood? Is it that film? Is it as savage as that, or what? How do you feel about modern Hollywood?
Oh, I think it's the same way you think about Washington or politics in some ways, or things like that. But I don't think everybody is like that. But there's, the most desperate, venal parts of it can be pretty nasty.
It's a disturbing film. If you've seen it, if you haven't, you should see it.
Well, Cronenberg kind of makes films where he's gonna like slowly bring you into some sort of nervous breakdown, and slowly watch it all.
That's what happened to me. I had a nervous breakdown. Honestly, it's a serious
but
film.
And he actually does these things too, where even when sometimes you think he'd want to pick up the pace, no, he just wants to let it linger. You know, he's got this very cool aesthetic.
Now you do have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Don't hold it against me.
Come on. It's at 6644 Hollywood Boulevard. It's outside a bookshop next to Gene Autry, which is pretty cool. I mean,
and next to Shaka Khan.
Okay, next to Shaka Khan and Gene Autry. Come on.
I like to sing at Cowboy, but Shaka Khan. Come on.
What was that like for you to kind of receive that honor?
It's kind of strange, but nice, you know. It was good.
It's cool because Dan Aykroyd was there, Billy Bob was there, your sister was there.
Yeah,
everyone
Jack
came
Black,
Yeah, it's a great moment.
It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, well,
for sure. And it was good. It was a good time. I like that. It just made me think of that song by the Kinks, Hollywood Boulevard. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's really good.
We love the Kinks.
Yeah.
They're a great band.
They work in any film. You put any Kinks music in any film, it's going to work. I don't know why or how, but it's true.
Now you've always, you know, I called you bold and brave at the beginning, and you are in your kind of film choices. And Max is screening tomorrow at the Strand Cinema, and Hugh is here. Hi, Hugh. Hugh's going to do the Q&A after with Max. And War Inc. is another film that we saw there with Sir Ben that you wrote, produced, and starred in. And I mean, it's horrifying and it's hilarious at the same time. Talk to us about satire. How kind of difficult is it to do a film like that at that time? You know, back then, satire.
Well, I think it's. I mean, I loved a lot of the satires. You know, when I was growing up, and you see Network or Strangelove or you know, these were a fraction of the budgets, but still, you know, you want to just resist and do what you can. So that one we thought we wanted to make some sort of incendiary vaudeville thing with be both smart and really stupid. Same as kind of Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like mixture of stupidity and intelligence. It seemed like a fun idea at the time. It was, you know, Hot Tub Time Machine was sort of like being John Malkovich when Malkovich called me up and said, you know, you really have to come do this movie because it's so fucking mean. And it's like mean to me, but you know, like, fuck it, I am an asshole. I was like, all right, I wanted to do it anyway. Right? So Hot Tub was able to, I make fun of myself. Or, you know,
but that's why we love you, because you'll do something stupid and smart at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not easy.
Sometimes I don't think I'm doing something smart when I'm doing something stupid, but I like the intelligence.
And Max is screening tomorrow at the Strand Arts Centre. I mean, talk to us about Max, because that's a Hitler film, right? So, I mean...
I guess if that's a genre.
Is it a genre?
It's a Hitler buddy film.
It's a Hitler buddy film.
Even better.
You know what I mean? Well, why did you want to do that film? What was the attraction there?
Well, I was always interested in that period of European history. Berlin between the First World War and the Second World War, and this whole idea in Germany that this nation of poets and thinkers could, within 15 years, become a nation of judges and hangmen, and this wild swings in the pendulum, culturally, socially, and to try to understand just history and where the fusion of art and politics happened, and kind of how we'll never come back from that in some way that's both terrifying and an opportunity. So it's more about the role of art in politics and culture.
Well, it's screening tomorrow.
It's like an art film.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
it's not Hot Tub Time Machine.
It's not. But that's what's great about your career. I mean, that's what is amazing about your choices. Like John, as you're kind of getting older, does that change the way you look upon your career or the choices you make? Or, I mean, how do you feel about that now? I mean, you started as a teenager. You know, how do you feel now about like the next 10 years, next 20 years, whatever else you're going to do? What's your kind of feeling?
I don't really know. You know, it's hard to predict. You know, it's not like you just can say, oh, you can go make anything you want whenever you make it. You know, it's hard to get films made, and it's a hard climate. But I'm also aware that things change all the time, and you never know when the right opportunity is. So I'm doing something with a friend here. We're going to do something about maybe Thomas More, the Irish revolutionary hero. It's a pretty great book by Timothy Egan. We might do that as a film or for limited TV, and a couple other films that I'd like to get made. So we'll see how it goes.
Because this is a big thing. I mean, obviously, the TV and film industry in Northern Ireland and Belfast is booming. You know, we've got Game of Thrones here. We've had Star Wars and Donegal, but what we really want is a John Cusack film right here. That's what we want. And it starts right here tonight. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, listen, we're now going to have some comments, questions, thoughts from you guys. So, do we have our roving microphones? Yes, we do. Okay. Can we have some hands up, please, ladies and gentlemen? We would like to have some questions. We have one here and one here. So let's go here, and then we'll come to you. And is someone else going to come down? Yeah, let's come on down. Okay, yes.
Hello.
Hi.
That was really loud, sorry. I have a wee question. Being John Malkovich is one of my favourite films ever. Obviously film sets can be kind of very surreal anyway. Did you find working on that was a little bit strange going in every day, or was it just kind of like, oh, I'm in a really tiny set, this is fine, you know?
Well, to me, it just can't get weird enough for me. You know, and doing like that is just like mother's milk. You had a sense you're just getting away with something, you know, that should be illegal. And that's a really good feeling, you know? It's just like, we're getting paid to do this? It's ridiculous. So yeah, it was a great, really incredible script by Charlie Kaufman, and Spike was awesome, and the actors were awesome. So.
Being John Malkovich, brilliant film. We love that film. We love that film. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hi there. I'm Stuart. Belfast punk band Stiff Little Fingers get a name check
Yeah, man.
in High Fidelity. Was that your call, or was that Jack Black? Or
No, I don't think it was Jack, but we were aware of Stiff Little Fingers, and you know, and I think it was in the book too.
can't remember.
Let me think.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Stiff Little
I
Fingers.
can't really take
Come on.
credit for it.
Yeah. Okay, do we have something else over here? Yeah. Okay.
Hello, hiya. You probably get asked this question quite a lot, but I was just wondering, what advice would you give to young actors starting out?
Oh.
That's a good question. Make your own movies, right? Because you can do it now like on a fucking iPhone.
Yeah.
And that's great. You know, you don't wait for anybody's permission to do anything.
Okay.
You can work in the theater. That's good because you want to work with great writers and great texts.
Mm-hmm.
And people say oh, you know, in LA they'll say, oh, you know, I want to be an actor, but then they don't actually do it. So it's like basketball or any sport. Like you can't just theoretically think about it. You got to get your body into it and know how it feels, and then just do it yourself because everybody's faking it.
All right, cheers.
Are you an actor?
I am too, yeah.
Okay.
Go for it,
Do
bro.
it. We
Do
want
it,
to
man.
see your film. Come on.
Do it.
Do it, man. Okay. Let's go over here. Yeah. We're going to go to you, sir, and then we'll come to you. Okay. And then we'll get someone else over here. Yeah. Okay, sir.
Hi, John.
How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for asking. Which roles did you turn down? Which, in hindsight, you sort of thought, I wish I'd done that?
Oh, good question.
I can't remember, and I don't mean to be like facetious about it. I just don't really, because I don't really sort of think that way. Because a lot of the ones I turned down really weren't good. And then a lot of the things I took really weren't good. And then a lot of the things I thought were going to be really good weren't really good. But mostly, you know, it's I don't like to think that way because there's enough. It's not like it's all about me. If someone else was meant to do that role and they did a great job, then you want to be happy for the solidarity with the other artists.
Okay, over this side. Yeah, hi.
Oh yeah.
What's going on, man?
So I'm a bit of a weird evening so far. Actually, I want to talk to you about baseball a little bit.
Baseball.
When I get ill or miserable or sick or any of these things, I tend to watch baseball films. I've never really figured out why, but I don't think we get all of them. So, what's your favourite baseball film?
Favorite baseball?
I have to say, I'll have to go in a true egomaniacal guy who says he's not Hollywood, lives in Chicago, but he's really just a Hollywood asshole, and say 8 Men Out. That's a good one. It's a good one. There's also a Pride of the Yankees is a good one. Fear Strikes Out. Some old. I mean, they're older ones.
You seen Talent for the Game? It's like the worst TV movie ever, but I love it.
Bull Durham's a good baseball movie.
Solid.
Yeah. What's your favorite baseball film?
Probably Talent for the Game. It's kind of the most low budget. It's
Oh, I know the best baseball movie.
The
best baseball movie is you got to watch. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's what the. Hold on, wait for it.
Who's in it?
It is called. It's about the Portland Mavericks and Kurt Russell's
Bad Bastards of Baseball.
The Batter Bastards of Baseball. That's a great documentary.
It's fantastic. It's really worth watching.
And if you see that movie and you don't like baseball, then you're not going to like baseball.
Really.
Hi, John.
How are you?
Okay, thanks. I would say for me, High Fidelity is one of my all-time top 5 favorite movies.
What are your top 5?
Wizard of
The
Oz,
tables on you?
The Wizard of Oz, Empire
one?
Strikes Back, Wizard of Oz,
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back, Meet Me in St. Louis.
Meet
High
Me in
Fid-
St. Louis?
Yeah,
An odd outlier.
yeah. I love Judy Garland.
Yeah, man.
We're writing this down. We're writing this down.
What are we at? That's 4, isn't it? One more.
See,
The
it's hard to
pressure of a
Yeah,
fifth.
come on. What's the other one?
Well, High Fidelity in 4th. Out of that. Not necessarily in that order, but anyway.
I didn't get the 5th, did you?
No, there's only 4. Top 4.
I'll probably go with A New Hope. Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Two Star Wars on your
Yeah.
top 5?
Oh, I love it. I know.
Come on.
The pressure. But I think that Rob Gordon is possibly one of the biggest anti-heroes. He's likable 1 minute and you hope for him to redeeming features, but he's a fucking asshole. Did you like playing that, or did you think he was an asshole?
I thought all of it. I think people who are sort of broken and insane are the most interesting. And so I thought I saw Hornby's book as sort of a male confessional. So every male in the audience who sort of gets it was sort of going like, yeah, it's me. And it was just sort of that universal thing about our foibles. So I think I like doing that kind of stuff. I remember somebody wrote, he's really sort of like a passive-aggressive womanizer. And I was like, yes! And then, he's really just a completely narcissist. I was like, yes! So I sort of liked it when people liked him even though he was so flawed. It's nice, uncomfortable truths are pretty fun to play with.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we have a comment right here.
Hi, John. You've worked with a lot of big names. Who would you like to work with in the future?
Okay, thank you for that.
That's a good question, but I feel like now maybe I'd say Star Wars, A New Hope. But I was so lucky. I got to work with so many good people, but I never got to work with Scorsese yet.
Scorsese, yeah.
So.
But there was a Scorsese connection, though.
Yeah, he was the producer of The Grifters.
Okay.
So I met him when he was doing that.
Yeah. So Scorsese. Okay.
There's a lot of great filmmakers. I just can't sort of think of them right now.
Okay. Hiya.
Hi, John.
How are you?
Hi, my name's Jacqueline. Nice to meet you. It's my friend Fiona. We've come about 50 miles to see you.
50 miles?
We're from Mid-Ulster. Woo!
I'm not going to ask you for a top 5 list.
Just a couple of things. I love Room 1408 is one of my favourite movies.
1408.
You're a horror fan.
Yeah.
Also, there is actually a baseball team in Belfast called the Belfast North
There's a lot
Stars.
of
You might want to
There
look
is
that
a
up.
baseball team in Belfast?
But my question
What are they
is,
called? What's the
the
baseball-
Belfast North Stars.
Belfast North
We gotta get it.
Look them
Okay.
up. Yep.
Okay.
My question is, if you could reprise the role of one character for a sequel, who would it be and why?
Oh, good question. Thank you for that.
I don't know. What do you think?
Who would it be, John?
Well, like some of the ones who died would be good because they'd be in the afterlife. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Who would you like to see?
Yeah.
Lloyd.
But I can't imagine trying to negotiate that these days with a studio.
Yeah.
But I haven't really thought about it. I guess the Grosse Point Blank, but I sort of did that a little bit in a weird way.
Yeah,
The
you
other
did,
one.
with Warren, yeah. Okay, we have, yeah. Does anybody have the mic over here? Okay, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Brian. John, you've referred a couple of times to how risk-averse Hollywood has become and the film industry has become. And you've obviously become much more, or noticeably, politically active in recent years. How much of a difficulty has that posed for you? Do you see you being able to ride those two horses simultaneously? Or do you think one will have to give in favour of the other at some point?
No, I don't think so. I was always, when I started making films, you'd have to go do these long press tours all the time. And usually when you do a press tour, they ask you, really super simplistic questions, and then they want to find out who you're dating, or they want to know what you ate for breakfast, or what brands, how do you brush your teeth, do you like Colgate, and so it's really that level of questioning. So I thought, well, I'm not going to talk about my personal life because I don't want to use whoever I'm dating or a girlfriend is like to sell a movie, and I didn't really want it. So they'd ask me about politics, and I go, yeah, I'll talk about that. And then it's sort of, but it was what I actually believed too. And then, but I don't think you have to separate that, everybody sneaks the truth. The best politics in the world are going to come from the poets and the artists and the culture, I think. And a lot of times they're before the political leaders. Not always, but so, I think say what you want and believe it, and that's it. Let the chips fall where they may.
That's why we love you, John. Yeah. Okay, we have a comment here, do we? Yes. Hi.
Hello, John.
Hi. Woo.
My name's Michael.
Oh,
nice
Michael.
to meet you.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, man.
Fucking fantastic. I want to ask you a question about your relationship with Hunter S. Thompson and how he maybe affected you as a person and any influence he maybe had on your work.
Hunter was a great creature, and he was one of the funniest creatures, and also always the smartest guy in the room. And so it was another thing like Joe Strummer or even Woody Allen or a lot of people where I was getting to sort of meet one of my heroes. So I've really had enough luck in one life, for sure. But I think the way he thought about politics and the way he could see around corners and see deep into things, he was such a contradiction because he was, everyone thinks about the caricature, the Dunes are very cartoon and the cartoon version of Hunter, but he was also like a badass journalist, writer, and thinker, like a really smart guy. And so he was you couldn't hang around with Hunter and not adopt a mannerism just out of sheer delight. He just had this huge sort of personality, and he's a dangerous animal too, but that's fun.
That's fun. Yeah. Okay, question at the back, then we'll come to you. Okay, yes, hi.
Hello, John. Sorry.
Hello.
Not to use the word iconic or anything, but in Say Anything, do you know when you're shooting that scene where you hold the soundbox over your head, do you have any preemptive idea that the track by Peter Gabriel is going to be used, like kind of paired with that scene, and eventually that those two things just kind of mesh together into that iconic memory, or is it something that you don't really know what you're doing at the time, it just kind of happens afterwards?
No, you could sort of feel it coming a little bit, but we didn't really have the song, so at the time we played a Fishbone song, which is a band, a great band, an LA band that I loved, and would see tour around at the Metro in Chicago, and one of those boom boxes had the pulse beat thing. So when you try to put another song on, it was just going to be luck if it matched. And when they put the song in that matched, it actually matched it was kind of meant to be, I think, probably luck, but it was a good time.
Okay, comment down here. Yeah.
Hi.
If you were making a movie about your life, who would you like to cast to play yourself?
Oh.
I would like you to play me.
Yeah.
Because I know what I think about what's happening, right? But I don't know what you think. And if you were in my body, if we could change bodies, that'd be good. I think a woman to play me would be good. And I'd like to play a woman playing you. I'm not quite sure how that works. But you get the idea.
Are you an actor? Could you do it? No, I'm just a mom. You're just a mom? Wow. Well, listen, you can do it. Okay.
You're not just a mom.
No.
Right? You're not just an actor or a mom.
Taxi driver.
Yeah, what else? Yeah. I think people should talk more about all the things they are rather than what they're not.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Comment over here. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, John.
Hi, can't see you, but I can hear
Sorry,
you.
I'm
Just
here.
give us a word. There we go. Okay, great.
I've got a question about the book, actually. In the book, you and Aaron Daddy Roy both express sort of the difficulties that are happening within your country at that particular time, and I know you've stayed very close to your roots in Chicago. When your country is going through a difficult time as it is at the moment, how easy is it to sort of hold on to the good things and remain objective? And have you ever thought of going or leaving it and sort of going, no, I can't stay here anymore because this is going a bit nuts now?
I would give the bastards a satisfaction. I think that's the sort of default position, but no, I mean, it's an evolution of seeing into things and seeing through things and trying your best to spread that around. But no, I don't think I would leave the States, but I sure like it when I leave.
Well, you'll certainly have a home in Belfast after this show. Anytime you want to come here, you're very welcome. Okay, just a final comment over here and then one over here. So let's go for a final comment over here. Hi.
Hi. We came from Woodstock, New York, so.
Wow, that's a long trip.
Our film is premiering on Sunday, and we would like to
what's
personally invite you.
What's the film?
It's called Emerald City. I do have a question though as well, but for author, writer, producer, director, actor, which is the hardest role you've taken on and why?
I do a lot of them at the same time, so it's all feels like one thing in some ways. But the producing is hard because then you're having to raise money, which is a totally different animal than being creative, and it's almost a completely different brain you have to put on to get people to sort of understand something, and then people want to have a contract about what it's going to be when it has to become something, and you have to go through a process. There's a creative process, there's all the actors and stuff, and so they want to know what the widget is and what the product is, so it's sort of a totally different brain. So I'd say the raising money is the one where my brain doesn't quite know how to find the language to tell people to trust a creative process.
So your film is screening Sunday night?
Yeah,
Good luck.
Emerald City.
Good luck. We look forward to seeing it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Okay, final comment over on this side. Final comment.
Hi, John. John, first of all, you mentioned you'd never get a real job, but I own a record shop, so if you all come work for me, that's no bother. So I want to ask you, you've played some quite romantic characters and a few maybe not so romantic, but with a film like Serendipity, you play quite a romantic, impulsive kind of guy. Does that sit with you? Is that the kind of guy you are, or maybe are you not like that?
I can I'm sort of happy to play any role in the drama, even if you're going to play the dragon or the troll under the bridge or the hero or the, So I think you probably a little bit of everything in there.
So as an activist, as an Irish American, as a wonderful, wonderful actor, even as an immortal Irishman, which will be made here, part of it made here. But for all those reasons, we salute John Cusack, representing with the reality award tonight for his services. It's Donny Kelly's. Thank you so much, Donny.